Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel every week. It chooses the horror movie and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1988's Beetlejuice, which was directed by Tim Burton. I'm your co-host, Alec.
I'm Eric, and with us again is Cat, but also her friend Allie. Allie Cat, welcome to the show.
Woo, hi.
Thank you.
I love it's like a comedic duo. It's like Allie Cat. Allie and Cat. But yeah, welcome back to the show, Kat. You've been on you did both the It movies, and then did you one of the Conjurings with us too?
No, I just did both It's.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Part 1 and 2.
You love the Conjuring movies, though. Is that it?
She loves Conjuring.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie for sure. The first one. The rest of them are A-okay.
Right. Remind me, you said you fall asleep to the Conjuring movies, right? Or the first one?
I do. I have it as my background noise.
I mean, that just stuck with me because I'm like, wow, that's I think it's a pretty scary movie. So I don't know. Falling asleep to that's pretty intense.
The crazy part too is that it took me maybe 2 years to watch it because I was terrified to watch it in the theater because all those people were saying oh yeah, there's priests blessing people before the movie. It's really scary. So I was like, I'm not watching it. And then I watched it at home and I was like, oh my God, it wasn't that bad.
Alec, do you want to give the spark notes to your Ed and Lorraine story? Like a quick hit of it?
Yeah, I mean, the Ed and Lorraine Warren are, they're in Connecticut. They're demonologists that are very famous. That's what the Conjuring movies are based off of. My mom played with Ouija boards a lot as a young girl. So when she got pregnant with me, my dad, I guess, worked at a record store with their grandson. And he was telling the grandson about, oh yeah, my wife is pregnant and she's used to play with a lot of Ouija boards and do that stuff. He's like, you should get your baby pre-exercised or whatever, before he's born. So they reached out to the Warrens. They went to this church in Connecticut that they do only Latin sermons, and they did a pre-birth exorcism on me. So that's my little weird connection with the Conjuring movies that Eric loves bringing up.
Well, it's an amazing story.
I mean, we have a horror podcast.
I don't think many can say that. I've been pre-exercised by Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Right.
Well, I found out about it from doing this. My mom never told me, and then we started doing the podcast, and there was another guest that had a connection with that church that they brought me, that my mom went to get the pre-birth exorcism or whatever. So there's a weird connection that all came out from this.
Connecticut's a small town.
It's a small town, but it's a state.
Before we jump into this movie, though, Allie, I want to find out, what do you like about horror? What's your background with it? I mean, your dog's name is Gloom, and he's wearing a sweater with a crossbone on it, so I'm figuring you like horror.
I do. I think I just I still get really, really scared and I get anxious when I watch the movies, but it's sort of like that roller coaster feeling where you're so anxious going up and then going down. It's just the thrill of your life. And I kind of experience that when I watch these movies where it's I'm so scared, but I can't take my eyes off the screen. And also just visually, I always find horror movies just so kind of, especially one what we're talking about today, where it's just so visually interesting, and I've just been a big fan. I'm a 90s girl through and through, so 90s slasher is just it's my jam.
Well, really quick, I want to also connect you and Eric because, Allie, you're a huge Beavis and Butthead fan, speaking of 90s things.
I am.
And Eric, you love Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah.
No, I used to love that show.
Yeah, that show, my brother just, he can, just send me a Beavis and Butthead GIF, at any time, and it will just, bring tears. It's just something about that type of comedy. I just love it so much.
It's so dumb, and it's so a beaten dead horse, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's just so simple. Yeah.
It was the 90s. It was simple. It was fun. But yeah, so jumping into this movie a little bit, I mean, this is just such a classic movie. And I mean, we've all seen this, I'm sure a lot of times, right? This is nobody's first time, right?
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah, this is, really quick, just also, Eric, we haven't even talked about this. The three of us, Allie, Kat, and I, we all went to this place called Beetlejuice in LA here, which is a Beetle. What is it? Why don't you guys tell? It's like a Tim Burton themed restaurant bar.
Yeah, so it's Tim Burton inspired.
No affiliation.
No affiliation.
No copyrights. Don't sue them.
But yeah, it's just kind of a dark, moody, spooky place where you can get dinner, and then they have characters who come out and sing and do little shows and magic tricks, and so it's all sort of in the theme of different Tim Burton movies.
And I mean, I feel like it's called Beetle House, and obviously, like, the host of it is Beetlejuice, so it's like, this movie is still that popular, because it was, like, pretty packed, you know, and, like, clearly this movie is... Oh, and they're making a sequel, apparently, too, so, like, this movie is still in the zeitgeist, it's still very popular, but I want to know, like, Kat, Allie, what's your guys' like, experience with this movie? How did you guys get into this?
I think it's just a staple cult classic. Like, it's I think I've mentioned this before. I, since, like, a little age, have always just been drawn to, like, this side of, like, movies, like, horror and Tim Burton. I think just with Nightmare Before Christmas, it just, like, has this very special place in my heart. And then I was kind of, like, exposed to Beetlejuice, and I just loved it. And then everyone, when I was little, because I always used to have straight bangs, so everyone would always say I was Lydia Dietz and Lydia Dietz. And I actually dressed up like her a couple of times, and, like, I looked just like her, and everybody, like, I actually went to Beetle House in their older location, I think for my, what birthday? My 2019 birthday. And one of the workers there thought I was the Lydia performer, and he was like, "Hey girl, go on your break." And I was like, "It's my birthday, I'm just here." And he's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." And I was like, "Yep, yeah." So it's always just been, it has always had a special place in my heart, and I think Allie can attest the same for her.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I have seen a lot of movies. There's something about this movie, I think, again, just visually, it's just so beautiful. When I think of, like, something as simple as, like, Miss Argentina, like, just the colors of her and how beautiful she is, and just, you know, the visuals of the house and of Delia, and just... But I think overall, it really made me fall in love with Michael Keaton. And just, like, it's one of those characters where you can't really imagine anybody else playing that role. You know, like, it just wouldn't fit. And I don't know if the film would have been as much of a success without his performance, as, like, tiny of a part as it actually is compared to the rest of the movie. It's just... he just killed it.
I disagree.
And it was, like, super out of character for him.
You disagree?
I think Chris Pratt could play Beetlejuice. I'm kidding.
Oh, heck no.
Come on.
Oh, heck no. Isn't Chris Pratt canceled?
Is he? He's canceled now? Oh.
No, he's Mario. He's
Well, everyone was mad about that because he was canceled.
It's like, he's not even Italian. Why is he the voice of Mario? I don't know.
He's not even Italian.
He's not even a plumber. This makes no sense. I don't know.
No, but you're right. I mean, like, apparently the first choice was actually Sammy Davis Jr. That's who Tim Burton initially wanted, and then they're like, no. So he met with, which would have been very different. But then he met with Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton apparently turned it down. And then they had a conversation or whatever, and they kind of explained what they both wanted the character to be, and they just completely clicked on it. Yeah, he was supposed to be a much darker, like, almost like Freddy Krueger-esque character, but, like, obviously that's not how it turned out.
I love that they went the comedic route.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. He's like a pretty big scumbag, but, you know, it's funny.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's so funny.
rewatching it this time, I was kind of like, well, he's like really going at Gina Davis like pretty hard. I didn't remember that. Yeah, it was pretty aggressive.
Yes. Yeah, he's definitely problematic. But he is dead, so I guess we can give him a pass.
That's true. I mean, he's like, guys, give me a break. I'm 600 years old. My God.
Right.
Not the voice.
Yeah, no, I can't do a good Beetlejuice impression. But Eric, what about you? When was the first time you saw this?
I would say 7 or 8, probably.
Yeah, right.
That's when I first saw it. And to Kat's point, and Allie's, like, the visually, like, it's such a creative movie. Even from, like, them stepping outside of the house as ghosts and the sandworms, and just the colors, the sculptures, the black and white with the green in Beetlejuice, and I love it all. This movie has a lot of creativity behind it, and and Michael Keaton, obviously, he's the only one I can ever imagine playing this. But, hey, how you doing? Nice fucking model.
Model, yes.
How can they say that in a PG movie?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny? It kind of goes to show you, right? Like, that was 88, what they could get away with, you know? And it's so brief, but then when you do catch it now as an adult, it's like, damn, they were a little risque, and I love it, you know?
Oh, they say like a lot of stuff. I mean, like when he's like good fucking model, I was like, I don't remember that on the Disney Channel when I was a kid. Like, but yeah, I mean, like I watched this on the Disney Channel as a kid, like a bunch. I remember being pretty scared of it, but now watching it now, I'm like, this would be PG-13 for sure if it was now.
PG-13, absolutely. And there's a children's cartoon.
I love the children's cartoon.
I liked it too. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, this is a kid's movie. Like, it is, right? Am I crazy? Or this is a kid's movie, right?
I feel like if Beetlejuice came out now, it wouldn't have been as big. Because I feel like now everyone's so easily offended. I feel like they would get very offended by Beetlejuice now. But because it's such a cult classic, and, like, I feel like it's even getting more popular now because people are very much in that niche of, like, horror and just, like, spooky. And, like, that's why it's even more popular. And it's still getting more and more popular, which I feel like that's why they're doing Beetlejuice too.
How do you think they're going to do a sequel? Like, quick around the room. I have an idea of how they're going to do it, but...
I think Beetlejuice is gonna come back, or Lydia has her family, and, like, he's gonna be like, hey, I'm back. What's up, babe?
I read a pretty terrible synopsis of, like, what the expected sequel was, and, you know, who knows, because it was on, like, Wikipedia or something. But it was something about, like, a Hawaiian vacation Beetlejuice. And I just thought, oh, God, I'm so glad they didn't roll with that idea. But, yeah, I mean, just imagine, like, Winona Ryder is just, like, she's still just, like, this totally quirky, weird woman who's just, like, still so perfect for the role of Lydia. And I just, like... I'm so excited about the idea. But I think they've been toying with it for quite some time. So who knows, you know?
I feel like they even said that they wanted to, like, bring in Johnny Depp to do something, too, which I think it's amazing, but I don't know how they're going to include him. I feel like the only way they could include him was as her husband, and they'd have kids or something.
Oh yeah. That could work.
Well, Beetlejuice, he used to work in that handbook world. Like, remember the woman who has the slit throat with the cigarettes?
Yeah.
She said, oh, don't ever work with him. He's the worst. Like, we fired him years ago. So he used to be... So maybe Johnny Depp comes in as a character who used to work there with him, and they're, like, terrible coworkers. Like, kind of like Michael Scott and whatever the guy is. Like, terrible harassment guys. And, like, I don't know. I could see that working. But my idea of how this could be a sequel, and I would love to see this, like, let's say it's today. Obviously, like, Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara are very older. The dad, I don't see him being in this movie. He's been totally... Don't want to go there with what happened with him, but he's out of Hollywood. But I could see, like, Catherine O'Hara getting robbed, or there's a murderer, and Winona Ryder hasn't thought of needing help before, but she gets in a situation where she needs help, and she calls on Beetlejuice for the first time in... How long's it been since this movie came out? Jeez Louise. So it's like the one thing, like, last thing we'll ever do is say his name, and they get to a point where they need help, and she calls Beetlejuice to, like, save her mother from death or something like that.
Yeah, I love that, because it's like, why else would he come back, you know? I think that's amazing.
He does get eaten by the sandworm at the end, but maybe he lived because he's crazy.
Oh, what are you talking about? He becomes a little head.
Right.
The shrunken head.
Yeah.
Yes, but he gets taken out of the real world by the sandworm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see that being a thing where, like, they will never call on him unless they desperately need to, and they get in a situation where they desperately need him. And how would they bring Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis back? I don't know.
I know, because they look so different now, and, like, at least
no, I don't know,
because they're dead, so they would have to look the same. And I was about to mention that. I'm like, can we talk about how great Alec Baldwin looks in this movie? And I did not know it was him for the longest time until I actually looked at the cover, and I was like, Alec Baldwin? Who's Alec Baldwin in this movie? And then I was like, oh my god!
I know, it's pretty crazy how different he looks.
Yeah.
Maybe they say that they finally passed on and went to the afterlife in a nice way after years of listening to Harry Belafonte.
This is a crazy movie. They could just make something up. I mean, it's okay. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna be like mad.
I like the idea of like Winona Ryder getting stuck in a situation where she like doesn't want to call on Beetlejuice, but like does it. I just like that idea where it's like I'm in a situation where I like this guy tried to marry me and stuff, but I need him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of like an all-star cast before they become huge. I mean, Michael Keaton's obviously huge at this point, but Alec Baldwin was kind of not a big star. Gina Davis was like becoming big. But Catherine O'Hara, like, what an awesome couple years she had with this, and then like Home Alone 1 and 2, like just like back to back. Like, I am just in awe of how awesome her career must have been.
Yeah, no kidding. And then she, comes back with Schitt's Creek and just, kills it. So, like, I just feel like now's the time. Like, you have Winona in Stranger Things. You have Catherine O'Hara, who just came off of Schitt's Creek. And all of, like, the 90s nostalgia is coming back. And it's just, it would be such great timing.
And I don't think people would hate a sequel to Beetlejuice after this many years. Like, look at Top Gun.
Or Hocus Pocus 2.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, it's never going to be as good as the original. But, like, I'll have fun with the sequel. Let's have fun. Let's see some more Beetlejuice action. Why not?
And this is like Tim Burton, I feel like, at his finest. I mean, it's right before Edward Scissorhands or Batman. Batman came out the next year. So, God, man, like 80s Burton, 90s Burton was so good. We just covered Sleepy Hollow a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I felt like that was kind of the end of Tim Burton for me. It was right in the Sleepy Hollow era, but I love this era of Tim Burton.
Well, he kept going with The Corpse Bride.
Oh, that's right, Kat. You love Corpse Bride. I'm sorry. Oh my God. It's like your
I
favorite
was like,
movie. I'm
wait,
like,
wait, he did Corpse Bride. That was really good too.
I'm sorry. You know what? I'm gonna take that back. Like, he's an amazing director. I just, all I think about now is like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and like,
Oh, that one wasn't that great.
The green screen Burton era is kind of like, like we don't want it.
Yeah.
but Corpse Bride is CGI, right? Like that's fully.
Well, it's stop motion.
Is it really that stop motion?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Oh my! I need to see that again. It's been too long. Yeah. Shit, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking too, like with the, like, he doesn't need the green screen. He needs that really, it's kind of like when you have a band who, like, they start off really gritty and grungy, and then it's like the more albums that they make and the longer they're in the industry, the more refined they get. And everybody kind of goes, ew, I don't want the refined version of you. I want that really gritty, grungy version of you. And I feel like it's the same with Burton. And, like, we want the actual, like, sort of half shitty props, in the background. Like, I want the stuff that it looks like foam and cardboard. I don't want, like, the perfectly drawn green screen background,
That's a great way to put it, Allie. Just by, like, it's like a grunge band that got really refined as time went on. That is a good way. Because, how do we go from this to, like, Dumbo?
Oh, how'd that happen?
Right.
Or, like, the Alice in Wonderland ones were a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
The first one wasn't terrible, but the second one was just like, get me out of here. Yeah.
The second one was,
Yeah, I love the foam grass or whatever, and then like digging under that, and it's like actually like corks and stuff and cardboard. Like, I love that stuff. That's quirky realism.
Yeah, me too. And his stuff is still visually beautiful. It's just very, very, perfect. And I prefer that imperfect version.
And it's funny, Allie, you mentioned Schitt's Creek. I watched this with my wife for the first time. She's never seen it, and we watched it. She liked it a lot, but she goes, "Oh my God, this reminds me of Moira Rose." And I'm like, yeah, that's because she brought that into Schitt's Creek, like this character, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like this snooty artist or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah.
Instead of wigs, it's statues in this one.
Yeah, and I just like, again, you go back to like the character, but Delia Dietz just like kills it as like this perfect hipster wife, who like, I don't know. She just really embraced the character, and you see that like snootiness of like this hipster artist, and like just the style, the wardrobe, everything for the time. It's just like, wrapped up with a bow for you. It's just so good.
I love my favorite phase of her, and I'm gonna really bad paraphrase it, but when she's like, if you don't let me express myself, I'm gonna burn it to the ground.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's so funny. But Eric, you haven't said your catchphrase yet about this movie.
what, the Waka Waka thing I said before as a
No,
joke? What is it?
no. It's the Pride of Connecticut, baby.
What's the Pride of Connecticut? What part? Gina Davis?
The whole movie.
Is this movie filmed in Connecticut?
It's okay, so it takes place in Connecticut, but it's no, it's filmed in Vermont. But it takes place in Winter River, Connecticut.
They do say Connecticut quite a bit, and it's like, oh, they don't make Connecticut sound that great.
Yeah, I was gonna say they kind of shit on it. They're like, I can't get any interesting people from New York to come up to Connecticut. It's like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, I have a question. Something that I never really could clear up. Does Alec Baldwin's character owns the hardware store in town, right?
He does, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're on a staycation in their hometown.
Yeah. Okay, so he just runs in and gets supplies for his diorama or whatever it is, and then his little mini model, and yeah. So I always remember thinking that was weird.
I have a Halloween model thing that I put up every year. Alec, you were just over. You saw it for the first time. It's pretty intense.
You
right?
guys would love it. Yeah, it's like one of those Christmas house, the big, if people have those Studio 50, whatever the hell they are. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like the big Christmas houses that people set up. Eric has that, but a Halloween version.
Oh, amazing.
I've always wanted one, so I finally splurged and got one over the last 3 years. So it's done. I'm not spending another $1 on it. But you can tell. I felt when Alec Baldwin went into the hardware store to get 2 little pieces of whatever it was. I forgot.
Right.
But yeah. I feel his pain.
Yeah, it was so sad. They seem like such a nice couple, and they own the hardware store in the small little town. I was like, I love them, and then they're and the reason they die is because they're trying to save a dog's life.
Yeah,
it was sad. It was kind of sad.
I think it was a blessing in disguise though, because I think in the beginning, and this was unsaid stuff, but it was unsaid because the realtor was oh, this is a big house for a family, and then they got all quiet if they were trying to have kids and then they can't have kids. And I think even Gina mentions oh yeah, it's me, I'm the problem, I can't have the babies. But then they kind of get an unofficial daughter with Lydia, and I think that's what they needed, so it's kind of cute. Yeah,
exactly. They get an afterlife kind of family.
Afterlife daughter, yeah.
Right.
It's don't adopt, die, and
yeah.
Die and haunt
Exactly.
a family. Don't have a family.
That's the message.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of haunting, though, just their haunts were
they're just so
oh my gosh,
funny.
when they're trying to scare the family, those are just some of the best parts of the movie. Just so amazing.
I mean, even when they just get do you guys know how to be scary? And they're just and they just rip their faces apart. That's funny. That's hilarious. They're yeah, I can do this and pluck out my eyes and make my finger. They literally were just doing whatever they thought.
Well, because you need training if you're going to be a ghost. You don't just you're not automatically going to be scary, right? Wouldn't you think you'd have to go through ghost training to know how to be scary?
Yeah, I mean, you would assume that you don't know what limbs come off and go back on, and what features of your face you can move and then put back together. You would assume. I mean, what if his jaw never goes back to normal after that? But obviously, maybe it was all in the handbook, because they didn't read the fucking handbook. You know what I mean?
Well, that could be the sequel in general, too, where someone random new finds the handbook, maybe Johnny Depp.
There you go.
And a Beetlejuice flyer falls out, and he reads it, and there you go. And then somehow Winona Ryder finds out and tries to stop him. I don't know. We'll see.
I think the sequel is going to be a lot about that, Eric. About the afterlife sort of crew or whatever, the Juno, that kind of... I mean, I think she's dead, but that whole setting or whatever.
I mean, dude, if she's not gone, I'd be surprised. But I gotta say this, dude, Harry Belafonte is 96 or something and still cooking right now, and that's wild.
Wow.
He's the one at the end with the song "Jump in the Line, Rock Your Body in Time." That guy, that song came out 100 years ago. It's insane.
Oh man, well, I had the subtitles on. I literally my entire life I thought that song was it's daylight come and I want to go home. It's hey Mr. Taliban. I always thought they were saying Taliban.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
And then I finally saw Taliban. Oh, okay, so it's not about the Taliban.
No, it's it's people who would pick bananas and then they would come and tally up how many bananas you picked.
Yeah, he was a Jamaican singer, a Jamaican American singer.
Yeah, I learned that today, though. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty interesting song. Like, talking about tarantulas and stuff and bananas. I liked it.
Yeah.
I learned that Harry Belafonte is still alive today, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. That's why we do this. We learn things.
We Pride of Connecticut, all this stuff.
Well, Allie has some news just on how much this movie means to her.
Oh, yeah. So I'm moving back to Chicago next month, and so something I wanted to do before I leave is get a tattoo. So I'm going to get a tattoo on my foot, and it's an ode to Beetlejuice, and it's going to say strange and unusual. So that's going to be my little gift to myself, because you guys, like, LA really embraces all of the spookiness, all of the spooky fun stuff that we don't really have in Chicago. So I need to take a little piece of it back with me.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. Allie, I have a tattoo of Beetlejuice, except it says nice fucking model on my...
Yes!
Do you really?
No.
I was like, that's cool.
You should tell him your real tattoo, Eric. No.
That stays with me.
Well, that's awesome, Allie. That's really awesome. Is that your first tattoo?
I do have another one that I got when I was 18, but it's like my first like real tattoo as a grown person. Yeah. So.
Oh. Well, that's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, Beetle House, obviously, that was, like, I was so surprised that existed out here, too. So, yeah, they really do embrace the spooky out here pretty well.
Allie and Kat, or even Alec, have you seen the Broadway play? I think it's only in New York. But
Aww, I'm gonna cry.
I'm not sure. Have you seen it?
I really, really wanted to. So I actually went to New York February of 2020 with every intention to watch it on Broadway. I know all the songs and everything, and we were gonna get tickets, but it was like sold out, and then shortly after that it got canceled because of COVID. And I was so bummed, but it's coming back, and it's actually coming to LA, so when it does, I'm gonna go because I know all the songs by heart because I was ready. I was like, yes, let's go.
I've heard from friends, and my landlord was obsessed with Beetlejuice. In my Milford apartment in Connecticut, obsessed with Beetlejuice, and he couldn't have talked higher about it. He was like, it was an amazing show. So yeah, I kind of want to go too. Like it looks pretty cool from what I've seen.
What are the songs like? Because there's no songs in this movie. So what are they inspired like, Kat?
So the opening of it, it's a song, and he kind of, like, Beetlejuice is very much like third person. He talks to the audience, and it's actually like really, really funny because he'll be like, you know, just talking about like, oh, I do this fucking show 8 days a week or like 7 days a week, and then he's like, I just did coke in the bathroom, and then it's like he just like engages a lot with the audience, and he I have heard that like he'll pick people in the audience and like, you know, paraphrase every like day, like just like kind of like improv it, like, oh, look, this fucker drinking his wine, or like something like that, and it's very like engaging. But I know Lydia has a couple of songs. One of them is like called Dead Mom, which is my favorite one, but a lot of the Beetlejuice songs are just like the opening song I believe is like, oh, the whole being dead thing. It's really cool. I love them.
I even the song Lydia's Dead Mom. So they explain why she has a stepmom. Is that basically this like?
Yeah. So it's actually that's my favorite song. The song is called Dead Mom, and she sings it, and it's like about how her dad wants her to be happy. And I feel like the opening scene is like her mom's funeral, and then Beetlejuice kind of interrupts, and he's like, hey, like the whole being dead thing. And so it's kind of about that, and she's just like trying to cope, and she's like, oh, dad wants me to be happy, but I'm just like you, because her mom was a little weird and peculiar like her, and her dad wants her to just be normal and be happy. So that's kind of what that song's about.
I like that though. It fills in some of the blanks, you know, in a fun way. But
it does give a little bit more background story.
Yeah, because they never addressed that in the movie, right?
And I know Miss Argentina has a song, too, about how she commits suicide. Aww. So it does give, like, a lot of background story of all the characters that you, like, miss and a lot of favorites. And then they have the actual snake for the Broadway musical. Like, they'll have the snake come out and it eats Beetlejuice.
The same.
Yeah. No, the snake. Oh, yeah, it is a
Miss Argentina, she's the receptionist, right? With the slit wrist or whatever, with the blue woman. Yeah, okay.
I remember when I was a kid, like watching this movie, like I didn't understand like what the plot was. Like it was so confusing to me, but I was just so enamored by just like seeing. I mean, like there's like suicide in this movie. It was a kids movie. Like there's so much stuff that I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. For sure. I think I had the same experience too, where it's just like, I love this movie, but obviously as a kid, you don't understand. It's sort of like when you go back and watch like Ren and Stimpy or SpongeBob or something, and you're like, damn, there's like all kinds of adult shit in here, you know? But yeah, I think the storyline was totally lost on me too, until, you know, recently. And, you know, but that's good because you can keep watching it over and over and keep picking up little pieces of it too. And yeah, it's just so much fun, like all the way through. I just love all the characters, like even the flat guy who, like, you know, he turns and he goes through the little line, and all these things they came up with that are just so funny. And you know, I don't know if it's a kids movie. That's an interesting question, how it was marketed. You know, if it was marketed towards kids, or I mean, the fact that it's PG kind of tells you that maybe they were marketing it that way, but. It's interesting because to me it doesn't really strike me as a kids movie at all.
I mean, he goes to a strip club basically. He's like going to like an actual
Dante's Inferno.
I mean, and like as a kid, I'm like, hey, this guy's like, you know, a scumbag, but like whatever. But this is not a kids movie.
that's a stretch for sure.
They screwed up with the rating.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like it flopped when it came out. No.
You know, actually, I think it actually made pretty good money. Let's see. Oh yeah, so it was a $15 million budget, made 74. So pretty.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good win for sure.
It's just because it was a critical and commercial success. It led to a cartoon immediately.
Oh.
I wonder why they didn't make a sequel to this. I'm kind of curious. I mean, Tim Burton, you know what? He probably was just too busy with like Batman and stuff, and takes a weird mind to make a movie like this, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's kind of what you know, there's always a rumor, and then it feels like once they get one person to sign on or to, you know, be like ready to be involved in the sequel, then it's like somebody else is like unconfirmed again. But I feel like very recently people are even making like sequel posters now, you know, that I've seen online, and I don't know, it seems like it could happen.
I think it's going to happen. It's Brad Pitt's company, Plan B Entertainment. Don't disappoint, Brad Pitt. Come on.
Oh my god.
You need to roll the dice and make some money, Brad. Let's go.
I think once Winona closes Stranger Things, I think she'll be like, okay, let's do it.
I mean, if you guys want a fun read, look at the Wikipedia sequel section for this movie. It's super long, and it's like every 3 years. It's like, development started with like Keanu Reeves attached, and it's just like, wait, what?
Did you see the part about the Hawaiian thing?
I did.
Like, tropical vacation thing. It's like, what? So I'm glad they held out.
It's insane. It's like literally, it's like Burton was still interested in Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian for early 1991 release. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have any last minute thoughts before we wrap up here?
I just want to say one of my other favorite parts of this film is the football players with the turning what's her name into the coach. Like, coach. It's like, I'm not your coach. Like I just love that. That's so creative. And yeah, the music. There's someone, I don't know who does the music. What's his name?
Danny Elfman.
Yeah, of course.
Danny Elfman.
Yeah, no, I love the music in this film as well. It's really good. So I don't know. I kind of want a sequel. I know people are like, oh, Hollywood's out of ideas, but this one, I'm like, hall pass. Get a hall pass.
Really?
Yeah, I want to see the sequel. I would want to see whatever this is. I just want to see Michael Keaton be Beetlejuice more. That's all I want.
Yeah. And I think there was like, at some point I saw that he's in the movie for like such a small amount of time, like a crazy amount of time. I wish I knew it off the top of my head, but like to make such an impact with such like a very insignificant amount of time in a movie is pretty incredible. But yeah, I think this movie just like, I don't know, reminds me of childhood. It's very nostalgic for me and very much like my vibe. Like I just feel like the black and white stripes and the lime green and all the bright colors, like that's how I decorate my house. Like that's just like, I wear the bright pink lipstick. Like it's just like I watch it and I feel like, yeah, like this is my shit. You know?
Ugh, I love you're gonna tattoo.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna go with her, but I'm like, oh, should I get something too? But no, I feel like this movie, like I said, I was always that weird little girl that was like, I want to be the Pumpkin King, and my mom put me in a pumpkin costume and a crown, and she's like, there you go, and I'm like, no, I meant Jack Skellington. But so I feel like this was like my next favorite because then I started growing up and I just identified so much with Lydia Deetz because her whole scene, the ghost thing, and when I was younger I was always seeing things and I just like feel such a connection to Lydia Deetz, and that's why this movie's just one of my favorites too.
Oh, Kat, I got one thing for you, and I know we got to wrap up, Alec, but Kat, my wife's a teacher, and one of her students from like 6 years ago, every day in October, he would be like, I am Joe. He would say Jabumpkin King. He couldn't say Pumpkin King, but he was obsessed with Nightmare Before Christmas, and we was, I am the Jabumpkin King, and we always say Jabumpkin King and stuff. It's really cute, but yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
it's still alive, that child youth loving movies and old movies and stuff. So that's cool to see.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's something interesting because, like, comedy movies don't hold up like this. I mean, you can't show a kid nowadays Caddyshack and have them be like, this is funny. It's like, but this movie still, Nightmare Before Christmas, like, all of those movies still are holding up very popular 35 years later. So something about Tim Burton really, really special. So.
Oh, I was just going to say there's something about, like, being able to bring that darkness into a film, and you look at Lydia and, you know, she's reciting like, my whole life is a dark room, and, you know, it's just like you feel like that, you know, to be able to bring that darkness into a film and to be able to both like laugh at it and like empathize with her, and just, you know, you just get this like variety of feelings when you watch it, and you know, it's not easy to bring something so dark into a film and make it, like, when you walk away from it you go, oh, that was really funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's so good at, like, just the contrast of colors, especially, and characters. I mean, the perfect suburb, like, contrasted with, like, the dark house, and just Lydia going into this, or I guess, yeah, Lydia's the oddball out. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm sorry. I'm losing it. We just did 2 podcasts in a row. I'm a little fried. But really quick, before we do wrap up, I wanted to ask Kat, do you want to plug your upcoming art show, because it's Tim Burton themed? So I mean, we gotta hear all about it.
Oh my God, yes. So we're actually doing our next exhibit. It's going to be at the Sugarmint Gallery, which is my second job, and it's an art gallery in Pasadena, right behind the Michael Myers house that they originally filmed the first Halloween, 1978. So our next exhibit opens up November 18, and it's going to be Tim Burton themed, and it's going to be called Deadly Nightshade, kind of like an homage to Sally's Deadly Nightshade from Nightmare Before Christmas, and I am actually going to be an artist in that, and my main piece is going to be Corpse Bride, but I do have a lot of other stuff that I'm going to be there selling, so yeah.
You're speaking my language, Kat, right now. If I was out in LA, I would absolutely go to this Myers house plus this, like, insane. You're blowing my mind right now.
Oh my God, and our last show was like the Haddonfield 8, so it was like all Halloween, it was amazing. I think Alex stopped by to check it out.
That's so cool.
I told you about it. They had the band The Three Michaels, and they were playing like actually like the Halloween theme, but they were all dressed up as different versions of Michael Myers. It was great. Also, a great Indian restaurant right next door too. So if you like Indian food, try it. It's really good.
Sounds like a perfect night.
Yeah, Kat, it's very excited. So it's the 17th. So if you are in the Los Angeles
18th.
area, I'm sorry, 18th. But yeah, check it out. Stop by. There's a lot of cool art, a lot of cool stuff to see. And Allie and Kat, Cat, thank you guys so much for jumping on and joining us to discuss Beetlejuice today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I'm just happy no one said his name 3 times. That's all I want to say.
Ah!
Anyway, we all said it
Beetlejuice,
separately.
We really
Stop
missed an opportunity.
Well, Eric, what do you say you spin the wheel?
Let's spin the wheel. Spinning. All right. We got the mist, Alec.
Okay. It's pretty funny. It's Stephen King. It's a Stephen King movie, and it's we should probably ask Dom if he wants to jump on because he's a Stephen King expert. I forgot the Stephen King movie. So, anyways, I'm rambling.
He'd be mad if we didn't ask him, so let's ask him.
Yeah. But thank you, Kat and Allie, so much. Eric, thank you, and we will see you guys all next week with The Mist.
Woo!